In this video, I'm going to be sharing another one of my husband's favorite recipes. This is for oatmeal cinnamon muffins / bread. You can either make muffins out of them, but we like to make cinnamon bread. It's easier for him to take to work. So you're going to find out that I love dump recipes, and that's what this one is today. This bread calls for 2 cups of quick cooking oats. I don't have them on hand, but I have this that was on clearance at the health food store, so I'm going to be replacing it with this. And as you know, sometimes baking, cooking, it's all about finding different recipes and experimenting. So that's what I did with this one, and it ended up turning out really good. So to that, I'm going to put 1.5 cups of einkorn flour into the sifter, and we're going to sift that into the oats. Helps the flour be a little bit more lighter in texture. And I don't experiment too much when it comes to baking, but there's some things I will substitute. And for the most part, it seems like they've turned out pretty good. So we'll get this sifted into the oats there. And this recipe does not call for raisins, but we like to add raisins to it. So I actually have the raisins soaking in a bowl, and I'll explain those here in just a minute. Okay, to those 2 items, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of baking powder, a 1/2 teaspoon of ginger, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And the ginger, again, is to help the loaf be lighter and fluffier. It does not add to the taste. It only helps with the rising of the bread. Okay, and to that, I'm going to add 1 cup of coconut sugar. And this calls for 2 to 4 tablespoons of cinnamon. My husband loves cinnamon, so I am putting 4 tablespoons of cinnamon in there. Okay, then I'm going to take a whisk, and I'm just going to mix these dry ingredients together so they're all incorporated. And then I actually scraped my finger last week, and I have a Band-Aid, so for this next part, I'm going to don some gloves here because I am all about health and safety when it comes to cooking. So we're going to put these on and get started with the rest. So to this dry mixture, you're going to take a 1/2 cube or 1/2 stick of unsalted butter, and we're going to mix it together until the batter comes out to a meal-like consistency. So it takes just a couple of minutes to do. There you go, you can see the reason why I put gloves on. Don't want to contaminate anybody's food. So this, like I said, this is a great recipe. My husband loves this. He likes for me to make a simple cream cheese frosting that he puts on the bread in the morning. So for that, I just take 1 brick of cream cheese, some maple syrup, and some homemade vanilla, and I mix that together, and that makes a really nice frosting for the bread, or he calls it cream for the bread. He said it gives a lot of flavor. And this, working with einkorn flour, I'm so glad I found a way to use, easier way to use the einkorn flour. Einkorn's kind of hard to bake with when you first start, but once you get the hang of it, it's really easy. Adding the ginger I found helped. Letting the batter set for at least 15 to 20 minutes before putting it in the pan and baking it is a big game changer. It kind of gives it time to absorb, you know, into the flour and everything. So once you have this in a crumbly, meal-like, what do you want to call it, sand-like matter here. So then what we're going to do is move on to the next steps. Make sure we've got all that butter all crumbled up in there. Take these gloves off. Okay, we're going to switch over to a spoon. So now we're going to add 1 egg. Now this calls for 1 cup of buttermilk, but I am actually substituting, in the next step I'll explain why. Yeah, let me just put this in. This is like 3/4 cup of buttermilk right now, because the recipe calls for a cup of applesauce or yogurt. I didn't have yogurt, so I'm using kefir. Since kefir is thinner than yogurt, as you can see, it's a watery consistence, you need to decrease the other liquid by about 2 tablespoons. Otherwise, sometimes I use So Delicious yogurt, I use Greek yogurt, I use whatever kind of yogurt I have on hand. So if you're using kefir, again, you want to decrease the amount of buttermilk that you're using. And if you don't have buttermilk, you could also replace it with almond milk, as my kids say. I always say almond. They laugh at me. Then you're just going to give everything a nice stir. Now, this recipe does not call for raisins, but my husband likes raisins in it. So I have been soaking raisins, a cup of raisins, for about 20 minutes. And you don't want to put dry raisins or just raisins out of the package, because the raisins will soak up the liquid in the bread. So if you guys, let me get a strainer really quick. If you soak the raisins before you get started, let them plump up a little bit. That will help them in the process to not soak up the liquid. The other thing you're going to want to do is, and I forgot to get it out, is you're going to want to put some flour on your raisins. And you can't see me doing it out of the picture, but you'll see in a minute. You just want to toss the raisins with a little bit of flour. That'll help them from sinking to the bottom in the bread mixture. So I'm just doing that over here because I forgot to get it ready. Okay, and then I'm just going to add that 1 cup of raisins that have been soaking there. Get my hands clean here for a second. Okay, then we're just going to incorporate the raisins into there. And then this is going to sit for 20 minutes, just like the other batters. Again, anytime you're cooking with einkorn flour, you're going to want it to set for 20 minutes. So it's going to be a couple seconds for you. It's going to be 20 minutes for me. I'll be back in just a spell and get this put in the baking pan, and we'll catch up where we left off. Okay, so this is the oatmeal cinnamon bread. I just took it out of the oven. I wanted to give you a look and see how much it rose. Einkorn flour usually doesn't rise that well, so I'm really pleased with the way this turns out on this recipe. And you can tell again by this one, just like the banana bread, this is going to be a moist bread. And one I'm sure my husband is going to love again. So hope you try it. Again, leave a comment if you do, or any questions you might have. And thanks for coming along today. Have a great day.